I'm currently in the process of a self-inflicted filmmaking challenge where I'm trying to come up with a concept all the way to delivering a feature-length movie completely solo. This is the exact structure or approach that I'm gonna use to write the script in hopefully only 2 weeks. I'm using a strategy that I think is going to not only solve writer's block, but it's going to solve so many of my screenwriting issues of plot holes in the story beats running flat, writing, knowing where to go and not guessing. This is the exact structure or approach that I'm gonna use to write the script in hopefully only 2 weeks. Let's get into it. I have been avoiding the linear writing style and leaning into more of a non-linear aspect of outlining my story. To give you an idea, you've got this circle here, and I don't know, I started this idea, so I'm gonna, whatever, that needs work. That one idea there needs work. You've got your circle here, and I like to break it into 25 story beats. So this is 1 and it's 25, sharing the last bit. Looks like a clock. And then when I come up with an idea, like let's say here, I got this midpoint that I want to do, my midpoint, and this cool idea, but nothing else is filled in. So this midpoint maybe would be considered a build of something. It's not a payoff, it's not a setup, it's some scenario of something happening that is in the middle of the story. But then with seeing that, I'll know that I need to have a setup somewhere. So maybe earlier in here, there's some little key character moment and there's a setup. And now I know that I got my setup and I got my build. And there's one thing missing here is if I'm trying to figure out these bits, and this is, let's say, my A story, the main story bit, I now know that these characters have to have some sort of payoff. And maybe the payoff is over here that concludes this end of the story. And so now I got a payoff up there, and I've completed my story arc here, and I've produced 0 plot holes in this whole thing because I'm conscious of the fact that I've have my setup and I have my build and a payoff. I've set it up to have those 3 elements working together. Let's say you've got your other plot point in here. Plot point 1, the end of Act 1. Act 1 curtain sometimes is what it's called. Like if you're in theater, the curtain closes at the end of Act 1. Cliffhanger, what's gonna happen next? So you have this, but if this here is maybe a setup, maybe a later in the story setup, you have to be able to pay that off. So maybe you've got a payoff over here for that big moment. I'll call it PO, payoff. The payoff is right here. It's like telling a joke, like a knock-knock joke. Knock-knock, who's there? Aren't you glad I didn't say orange again? You come to the punchline, but you don't know the context of the joke. So what you need is the full knock-knock, who's there? Knock-knock, who's there? You need the rest of the context of that joke, which might be considered a build. And what makes those builds great is you pack in a ton of escalations or conflict into that build and is going to build context, create conflict, and make your story more interesting. To create conflict, opposing goals, and escalations. You've got your list of escalations that will feed your build, which produces conflict, which helps with your setup and your payoff. And there you've concluded that as well. What you then can do is fill in the blanks. You know, you've got these points in here, and you just fill in the blank. You figure out what happened here that hasn't been explained, and figure out what you need to explain to give reason why your other event's happening. So it's reverse engineering. It takes work. It takes you figuring things out, brainstorming, but it's far easier knowing where you're going or where you came from in order to fill those blanks in. One thing that I highly recommend for you as you're writing your story is creating an escalation list. So an escalation list is things that you come up with that make it harder for your character to achieve their goal. You can have movie level escalations that sometimes turn into plot points, and you might also have scene level escalations. I like to create like 30 to 50 escalations for a scene. So if my scenes are between 3 and 5 pages, maybe sometimes a long one might be 10. There's really no rules. You might have an entire movie that's one scene. But you build in those escalations so that when you get to that point of, what happens next? Go to your list, see if you've added those escalations into your scene, and if you've got one, that would be great. You've just given yourself a key to get through that door that's in the wall that you've just run into. This method makes it so easy to just crank through a script. And it might be a bad first draft, but you can get to the end this way. Always have your escalation list handy. I would advise you to not default to the robot. Don't use AI to create your escalation list. That is like asking AI to do your weights for you. Hey, can you lift these weights for me? Oh, that's a great exercise, cool. Thanks for sharing, and then you never do it. Escalation lists is the thing that strengthens your muscle so that you can always be ready. Make that escalation list, work those muscles, get stronger. The more you do these lists and practice getting your mindset into those scenarios, the better you will be at writing. What you might try doing is take your struggles that you face in writing, come up with a list of struggles, why they're hard, then create a prompt, drop it into AI and say, these are the problems that I'm facing. Can you ask me in sequence questions that will help me to get past these, and don't ask me the next question until I've answered the first one. You will be forced to answer questions, and it might crank your brain into thinking differently, but you still are required to do the work. Something I just came up with now. It is hot in here. It's getting hotter. In the last like 48 hours or so, the problems I've had, this is the second time I recorded this, and this is part of pivoting. Then a camera fell over. I've got a broken cable somewhere. This isn't it. Somewhere I've got here it is. One of the cables bent when the camera fell. I think it was this side. So it's hard to figure out how to move fast, be efficient. I'm also struggling with trying to get to writing my story. Probably the thing almost everybody faces, like, I'm gonna make a movie, and you can't get the script on the page. And that's right now probably the biggest struggle of getting through these things, is having a script that you can shoot and be proud of. The thing I'm trying to solve is getting that outline done, and I have a style for this story that I think is going to help me get through to the final pages faster. This is the location that we're going to transform into the story, really embracing the idea of being a garage filmmaker, like a garage band, or starting a business out of your garage, a garage place. Garage filmmaker. This gives me an opportunity to play with lighting setups and where to put the camera, as well as what kind of heat elements I'm gonna run into, because August is gonna get toasty, and that's where I'm aiming to start production. So that's the honest bit. And the story clock thing I think is gonna help me. If you have a method that you use for your screenwriting, I want to hear it below, see if it's something that I can incorporate. One thing I'm also doing is building a script analyzer that will analyze my script, show me where there's flat moments in my story, or where it escalates properly, or where it de-escalates and we lose interest, as well as showing me if I've missed any plot holes that need to be fixed. Tell me if you're interested in this tool so I can make it available to you. Otherwise, it will just be for me. The bigger picture from a project like this is not just, let's see if I can make a movie in 180 days. It's a stress test to see if this workflow or this process will actually work in a compressed timeline, where the bottlenecks are, what needs to be fixed, so this can be repeated for another movie and another one. And the stories can get bigger and better. And maybe we've got a little bit more money and a larger crew for future ones. But if this system can be applied, it would be a great foundation for the idea I have of starting a fan-owned, artist-first movie studio. That would be a studio that the fans own, sharing the success of a movie. The artists are compensated through not only their time contributing to the actual art, but have an equity stake in the back end. So when the movie succeeds, they succeed. When the movie succeeds, everyone part of the studio and the project succeeds. That's the dream, that's the goal. This is a stress test to get us there. It's only the beginning. I bet you're wondering how you can be involved in this fan-owned, artist-first movie studio. Well, good news, I'm giving away something for free, and by grabbing that free budget template that I'm using as the foundation for all of the tools that I am building to use for this studio, you get kept up to date on the status and how you can be involved in this fan-owned movie studio. Grab that template, link is below. There are so many things that I have to fix for my script before I can write it and before I can even start shooting. So those are top priorities. But if you are curious of how this whole crazy idea started, you can check out this video over here. For now, the clock is ticking. So back to work.